Hello there, very good evening and welcome to your Primetime News Bulletin. I'm Shane Silva.
And I'm Jitendra Gulasena. Let's start off with a look at the headlines.
Against websites which insulted the judiciary. List of MPs who sold their vehicle permits submitted to the Supreme Court. Chief Minister's voice objection against the proposed super-ministerial powers. Revelations of a mafia which is concealing stocks of rice.
ආණ්ඩුව කරන්නේ මෙන්න මේ මහ පරිමාණ මූල්‍ය ටික රකින්න එක. මොකද ඒගොල්ලෝ රැක්කුත් තමයි ආණ්ඩුවේ මැති ඇමතුරුන්ට කොමිට් ලැබෙන්නේ.
දැන් මොකද මෙහෙම වෙන්නේ? ජාත්‍යන්තර ආල් මිල වැඩි වෙලා.
මේක නිකන් හරක් ගාලෙන් එළියට දාන්නා වගේ වීතෝක එළියට දාන්න බෑ.
President Maithripala Sirisena says that legal action will be taken against websites which set to threaten the justice process.
The President expressed these views at the annual conference of judges which was held in Wattala today. There are false news and false allegations that are cited in websites against justices who function in the judicial sector. I am the person who is criticized and insulted on a daily basis, and no one can break that record. What I do is I don't pay attention to these reports. That is the same advice I give my wife and children. These websites are exploiting the freedom they have. We are used to these insults and criticism. As a government, we are displeased by this prospect, and at the same time, we have also reached a number of decisions following discussions with the Prime Minister, and we have concluded that we should take all the possible legal measures in this regard. The President assured to formulate a reasonable wage system for the employees of the legal fraternity.
On to another story that made the headlines tonight now. An attorney at law sought redress from the Supreme Court today, filing a fundamental rights petition against the Commission to investigate allegations of bribery or corruption for failing to investigate a complaint lodged by him over members of Parliament reselling duty-free vehicles they had received to other persons.
In his petition, attorney at law Nagananda Kodituaku says that the Sebok has failed to execute its statutory duties by failing to act on a plausible complaint lodged by him on corruption against the members of parliament and the cabinet of ministers who have patently abused the public office to defraud the government's tax revenues for unjust enrichment. The petition cites 93 respondents, including the Attorney General, the Prime Minister and 83 members of parliament. Kodituaku has also submitted to court, based on information he had received from the Department of the Commission of Motor Traffic, information on 27 members of parliament who had resold vehicles to third parties.
American Hummer Jeep
The customs duty for a Hummer Jeep from America is about 43 million rupees. It is about 33.5 million for a Toyota Land Cruiser. They have been given permits to import vehicles by passing all these taxes. They sell these permits on the open market for 25 to 30 million. One of these vehicles cost about 42 million in total to import. So when about 25 to 30 million goes to the minister, 8 million is paid for the cost of the vehicles and another 5 to 6 million goes to the vendor. So 42 million in tax rupees which should be going to the people has been deprived. Each vehicle is 33 million. An American vehicle is about 42 million. For all 225 members of parliament, it amounts to about 7 billion rupees. Section 70 of the Bribery Act clearly states that it is a criminal offence if any government official acts in a way to confer a benefit, favour or advantage on himself or any person. While parliamentarians have been given permits to import vehicle duty-free, a proposal has been put forward for 58 selected MPs to lease luxury motor vehicles. Only one of the 58 members selected has refused. Further examination of the petition filed at the Supreme Court also reveals that several MPs who had sold their permits to third parties are among the 58 who will be receiving luxury motor vehicles. The monthly lease amount for the 58 MPs is 590,000. When you add the VAT and NBT, it is about 700,000. So a cabinet paper was put forward by the Finance Ministry to provide vehicles for a monthly lease of 700,000 rupees, and that paper has been forwarded to the Economic Committee on the 31st of October. Honourable Speaker, the VAT comes into effect from the 1st of November. On the 31st of October, the Economic Committee makes a decision and informs the Parliamentary Affairs Ministry to import the vehicles after selecting a company. First, all MPs receive a permit. While this remains, Honourable Speaker, they are hoping to obtain vehicles on a 60-month lease, and the lease amount is higher than the market value. It is clear that it would cost about 42 million and that the government will have to pay 2,436 million for these 58 MPs. It has also been said that even after paying this sum, the state will not have ownership of the vehicles. So there is a reasonable suspicion of serious financial fraud. Honourable Speaker, the MP's terms will only go on for another 45 months, but they are trying to sign agreements for 60-month lease. How can this be done? This is a ransom. You're paying MPs off in order to sustain the government. Meanwhile, the Secretary of the Ministry of Parliamentary Affairs and Mass Media says that the documents pertaining to the leasing of vehicles have not been signed.
From the time this cabinet paper was submitted, the process for procurement has not been followed. The second factor is that as per the amendment to the cabinet paper, the number of installments has been set at 60 months, at 700,000 rupees per installment. The tenure of the parliament is 45 months. That means part of these installments will cascade over to the following parliament, and the members of that parliament would be bound by the terms and conditions of this agreement. Accordingly, the members of the 9th Parliament of Sri Lanka will be affected by this if the 8th Parliament was to implement it. My argument is that you cannot bind a subsequent parliament to the terms and conditions of an agreement that has been signed by a previous parliament. This cabinet paper has to be amended by a subsequent paper, and the number of installments would have to be reduced to 45. Accordingly, the payment per installment will increase to around 900 or 950,000 rupees. According to the system, neither the parliamentarian nor the parliament stands to benefit. The only one who benefits is the company. That is why I am saying that this agreement should be amended and then submitted to the Attorney General for his approval before I am to sign it. I will have an issue with it if this is not followed.
Moving on to more headline-making news, the chief ministers of the provinces have noted that they will not support any bill which curtails powers vested in the provincial councils. Many chief ministers opine that the proposed Development Special Provisions Bill, by conferring extraordinary powers to create a super ministry, will curtail the powers vested in the provincial councils.
The draft of the Development Special Provisions Bill proposes the establishment of separate boards for regional development affairs. The bill would establish the Southern, Northwestern, Central, Eastern and Northern Development Board. The administrative districts of Galle, Matara, Hambantota, Monragala and Ratnapura would come under the purview of the Southern Development Board. Similarly, the districts of Putlam, Kurunagala and Kegalle will come under the Northwestern Board, while Mathale, Kandy, Norelia and Badulla will come under the purview of the Central Development Board. Development in the districts of Anuradhapura, Polonnaruwa, Trincomalee, Batticaloa and Ampara will come under the Eastern Board, while Jaffna, Kilinochchi, Mana, Vaunia and Mullaitivu will come under the purview of the Northern Development Board. As per the provisions of the Development Special Provisions Bill, these boards will function for 3 years, subject to the decisions and guidelines of the Agency for Development, which will also be established through the bill.
As a party, we are opposed to this. This is not something that will pass in Parliament, let alone the provincial councils. Even when our government was in power, a similar superpowered ministry was operated by Basil Rajapaksa. The impact of that ministry was so great that I believe it influenced the defeat of the former president. This cannot happen under a good governance regime. It is not a question of which party receives the ministry. In line with past experiences in our country, it is not right for us to appoint a person who will be conferred with so much power. There are major criticisms against certain actions of this government, but the people are pointing the finger at the UNP, not the SLFP. When considering the provisions in this new bill, there are many with which the provincial councils cannot agree in any sense. As a matter of principle, we cannot agree with such a draft, which deals with subjects in the schedule of the 13th Amendment to the Constitution. While the concept of devolving power was introduced as a solution to the problems in the country in the past, today a bill has been presented to centralize these decentralized powers around a single person. My personal opinion is that I will not agree with any program that curtails, harms or limits the powers of the provincial councils. I am still studying it, so it is pointless for me to have an opinion. That is because I cannot go on a single opinion alone. We will discuss the bill in the provincial council. We will secure their agreement and inform Parliament. They say they will decentralize power, that they will grant police powers and land powers. But then they are curtailing the financial powers of the councils. We cannot work closely on this. We will object if this bill curtails powers vested in the provincial councils. But if this does not affect the provincial council, we will make a decision during the first session of the provincial council next year.
The Chief Minister of the Northern Province, C.V. Vigneswaran, said that he would make a statement after studying the proposed bill.
Monetary Board of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka brought Ceylon Bank under the control of state-owned Bank of Ceylon on the 28th of December 2008 under Section 31 of the Monetary Law Act number 58 of 1949. Bank of Ceylon is one of the 20 largest ordinary voting shareholders of Ceylon Bank, with the amount of shares standing at 13,198,305 or 7.5% of the total percentage of shares. According to the daily equity movement of the Colombo Stock Exchange on the 16th of December, these shares held by Bank of Ceylon have been sold to earn a turnover of 1,320,006,043 rupees. Information was gathered by Newsfirst that a share has been sold for 100 rupees, 15 rupees higher than the market value. The Daily News reported on the matter today under the headline PM Hall's questionable share transfer that Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe has ordered to immediately cancel the divestment. Quoting the PM's Additional Secretary Samanatha Hetty, the paper says that the Prime Minister has also asked the Police Financial Crimes Investigation Division to investigate into the matter.
Since we don't have enough money in the country, we need outsiders to invest in our country. The government invites foreign investors to come into the country, and when they do, the government slaps them and sends them back. Last Friday, the Bank of Ceylon sold their shares in Ceylon Bank. Once the shares were sold, the Prime Minister intervened and ordered to cancel the transaction. Why did the Prime Minister do something like that? The Prime Minister did not call for immediate investigations into those involved in the central bank bond scam. He did not order the recovery of the money immediately. What the Prime Minister says is that the public deserve this burden. This is their karma, and he wants the public to hand over this burden to their children as well. The money that was robbed should be recovered, but he never says that.
Prime Minister, this is over to you.
JVP Politburo member K.D. Lalkantha expressed these views during a seminar held this evening.
We would like to remind both Ranil Wickremesinghe and the government that he was never a leader who was capable of completing his tenure. He has completed his official tenure after gaining power. He is preparing for the same this time around as well. He is now paving the road for his exit as the Prime Minister, and this is exactly what should happen.
Minister of Rural Economic Affairs P. Harrison claims that there is a mafia which is concealing stocks of rice.
According to data from the Department of Agriculture, 2.5 million metric tons of paddy was produced during the 2015-2016 Maha season, while 1.3 million metric tons of paddy was produced during the 2016 Yalla season. A harvest close to 5 million metric tons of paddy was reaped this year. Therefore, 2.7 million metric tons of rice has been produced from the stocks of paddy this year. The annual requirement for rice in the country is 2.2 million metric tons. But why did the price of rice increase when there are sufficient stocks of rice to last until April next year?
We
Traders who store paddy want to take maximum advantage of this opportunity, so they have stocked up their paddy in a bid to sell it at a high price. We have been informed that some mill owners have created a scarcity of rice with the aim of hiking up the prices.
Why is this happening? Has the price of rice in the international market increased? Well, that wouldn't have an impact on the rice in Sri Lanka, would it? The doors were open for a few large-scale companies in the country to purchase massive stocks of paddy. The government stocks were insufficient to release to the market and control the price. The government intervened and curtailed the purchasing of paddy. In the midst of this, these stocks of paddy fell into the hands of a few large-scale traders. Technically, there should be around 2 million metric tons of paddy stocked up in the country. The government has close to just 200,000 of these 2 million metric tons. So, the remaining stocks of paddy has to be in the country somewhere. Where is it? The small and medium-scale mill owners honestly do not have the paddy now. The large-scale mill owners definitely have more than 15 metric tons of paddy in their possession. The government is protecting these large-scale mill owners. Why? Because only then do the ministers in the government get their commissions.
These stocks of paddy cannot be released like releasing cattle from their shed. Cabinet has granted approval and the Paddy Marketing Board has called for the required price changes. Moreover, we have taken measures to release 50% of the stocks of paddy of those who received high prices. We are also taking measures to provide this opportunity for not just intermediaries but for rice mill owners as well. I think we are initially planning to import around 10,000 metric tons of paddy from overseas, both Samba and Nadu. We hope to sell a kilo of rice at a minimum of 50 to 60 rupees.
It costs the government 66 rupees to produce a kilogram of rice, so the government can sell it at either 66, 67 or 68 rupees. It can also sell it at 70 rupees with a profit. If the government gives such a competition at this point of time, all the large-scale mill owners who are concealing stocks of paddy will have competition. They will have no choice but to release their stocks of paddy. Why can't the government realize this?
The government should prepare themselves to pay a massive compensation. What has happened today is that rice has to be imported to the country and the consumer will have to purchase rice at over 100 rupees.
A bulletproof vehicle owned by the state, which was used by former Deputy Minister Vinayagamurthy Muralidharan alias Karuna Amman, was handed over to the Presidential Secretariat today.
The vehicle was found 2 months ago at a garage in Batiklo. The vehicle is valued at 98 million rupees. Subsequent to preliminary investigations, the Police Financial Crimes Investigation Division handed over the vehicle to the authorities based on an order issued by the Fort Magistrates Court today.
The stain on the school uniform material coupon program due to a uniform material racket involving the Lanka Salusala, its officials and certain external parties was brought to the attention of the President recently in a letter signed by the Secretary to the Ministry of Education, according to media reports. 2 weeks prior to this letter being sent to the President, Action TV revealed plans designed for the racket concerning school uniform material stemming from an agreement between the Secretary to the State Ministry of Education and the Secretary to the Ministry of Industry and Commerce. Over the past 2 days, Action TV also highlighted the dismay of parents due to a serious issue that is not contained in the letter addressed to the President by the Education Secretary. The reason for this utter dismay is the arrival of officials claiming to be attached to Lanka Satusar, who acted on a letter dated 26th September written by the Education Secretary, and the distribution of low-quality uniform material by them among school children. This was after the officials collected the coupons provided to students to obtain the uniform materials. Another issue concerning the coupon system to obtain school uniform material was reported from Gaul, Matugama and Baddegama. The businessmen who obtained the coupons after issuing the uniform materials to the students were rejected cash when the coupons were submitted to the banks. In a backdrop when the fertilizer subsidy appears to be given to farmers after harvesting concludes, the school uniform material coupon program was the biggest welfare project by the government that was initiated sporadically with a large amount of public funds.
The amount allocated for the program exceeds 2,300 million rupees. The introduction of a coupon scheme without issuing uniform material has created an open market of 2,300 million rupees. The chances of these coupons for uniform material being forged is very high in a country where there is a circulation of counterfeit currency notes and forged passports, despite stringent security measures. Since these coupons for uniform material are valid until the 31st of December this year, stocks of coupons will be handed to banks in return for cash over the coming days. Therefore, incidents similar to those reported from Galle, Mathugama and Baddegama may be unavoidable.
The final rites for the 10 people who were killed in an accident in Chavakacheri were held in Kalutara this evening.
The group from Kajugaswatta in Haltota Kalutara was returning from a trip to Jaffna when their van collided with a SLTB bus at around 1 p.m. on Saturday. 7 siblings and 3 of their relatives were killed in the accident. The tragic death of the 10 persons serves as a necessary reminder for every motorist to take maximum precautions when driving. The 7 siblings were laid to rest at the Kajugaswatta cemetery today. The 3 others killed in the accident were laid to rest at the Siembalagahena cemetery.
1 life spared and another lost. A motorcyclist who attempted to avoid a pedestrian in the Paliagod area passed away after crashing. The unfortunate incident took place at around 9:30 p.m. yesterday.
A roadside CCTV camera in the area captured footage of the accident. Dilan Sandarwan, a resident of Mabola Wattala, died in the accident, which was caused by his attempts to spare the life of a person who attempted to cross the road in an unsafe manner. The pedestrian also suffered injuries in the accident. A bus flying from Aranayaka in Mavanalla to Somavatiya crashed through the Iriyavala bridge today. 35 individuals were injured in the accident and were admitted to the Polonnaruwa base hospital for treatment. Meanwhile, 1 person died and another suffered injuries in a car crash that took place in the Kadugannava junction. The accident occurred when a 3-wheeler flying towards Peradeniya attempted to overtake another vehicle and crashed into an SLTB bus.
Prevent accidents, save lives.
Welcome back. Now, all over the world, Christmas celebrations reflect local culture and traditions. The festivities can be startlingly different from country to country. Today, let's take a look at some lesser-known Christmas traditions that are followed in Switzerland and Italy.
The Switzerland's Klausjagen festival, which translates into Chasing the Clouds, celebrated on the 5th of December, is attended by about 20,000 people each year. For 2 hours, the villagers use 8-foot whips to chase Santa Claus around the town. Then, 200 people wearing giant glowing hats as much as 7 feet tall parade down the street. Finally, the festival comes to an end with more than 1,000 villagers marching down the streets with cowbells, horns and anything else that will make a loud noise, after which celebrations continue through the night. Meanwhile, over in Italy, rather than Santa Claus, Italian children await the arrival of Befana, an old friendly witch who delivers sweets and toys to children throughout Italy on the 5th of January. According to Italian folklore, Befana, being a good housekeeper, sweeps the floor before she leaves. The child's family typically leaves a glass of milk and a plate of food for Befana. She is usually portrayed as an old hag riding a broomstick, wearing black clothes and covered in soot, because she enters the houses through the chimney. Befana is also referred to as the Christmas witch.
While the world over is gearing up for the season of Christmas, the Capital Maharaj organization too is preparing to usher in the season. Joel Outscoon has the details.
Well, I'm going to ask you a simple question. What is the best season of the year? Well, I'm sure you would agree with me if I tell you it is the season of Christmas. Well, here we are ready and fully geared to make your season even more better. Now, how are we going to do it? It is through this times Sirasa Christmas Zone. This Christmas zone has Christmas carols, which goes perfectly with the season, and also we have the Triforces playing their Western band. Then also we have the arrival of Santa Claus, and also to make your season even more better, we have the exposition of a statue of Our Lady, blessed by the Pope himself, which will be in this location. And also in the back of me you could see a giant Christmas tree erected just for your viewing pleasure. Where do you have to be tomorrow? It is at Raybrook Street at 5 o'clock. Come down to the Sirasa Christmas Zone.
Well, that's it for tonight. I'm Jiten Gunasena.
And I'm Shane Silva. Take care and good night.